Hello dear students, let us have a look at this problem. Consider the following distribution of daily wages of 50 workers of a factory. So this table, if I analyze it, let us just zoom it a little bit. Let us analyze it. What is being given? Here it is given that these are some daily wages which are being given to some workers in a factory. So the total 50 workers are taken into consideration when we are taking this sample. So out of those 50 workers, 12 workers are in that category which get the daily wages between 500 to 520 rupees. There are in total 14 workers which get the daily wages as between 520 to 540 rupees, and there are total 8 workers which get the daily wages between 540 to 560 rupees. There are total 6 workers which get the daily wages between 560 to 580 rupees, and there are in total 10 workers which get the maximum number of wages, that is 580 to 600. So we are going to find out the mean daily wages of the workers of the factory by using an appropriate method. If I talk about the appropriate method, we know that there are 3 methods: direct method, assumed mean method, and step deviation method. So if I look at it, you can see that the daily wages are quite large in number. We are going to use this to multiply with certain numbers. So it would be better if we use step deviation method, as in that case the product or the finding the product becomes easier. So let us use the step deviation method for the same. Let us just make it move a little bit aside. You already know that how many columns are required in the table of step deviation method. Yes, there are in total 6 columns required. So we need to make that table as per that requirement. So here we have it. Let us also now divide it into few more rows and columns. Here we have it. Let us also have it here for the total. Perfect. Now we need to divide it with the first column. The very first column stands for the class interval. So the first column is going to be class interval. Let us write it quickly. Class interval. The second column we know stands for the frequency of that class interval, that is written as Fi. So let us also divide it now. So we will write all the Fi's over here in the second column. After that, what do we have? After Fi we write Xi, that happens to be the class mark, and we know it's quite easy to find the class mark. Let us first name it as Xi. After Xi, what do we get? We get Di. Di is simply the difference between all the Xi's and the assumed mean. We'll take the assumed mean later. Before that, let us just write it's Di. And what is Di? We know it is Xi minus A. I'll write it over here. It is Xi minus A. Now we need to further have few more columns. The next column is going to give us Ui. What is Ui? Ui is the division of Di with the class height. We'll also discuss that. Just a minute. So Ui is equal to Di upon H, where H stands for the class height. And now at last we'll have one more column, and that one more column would be the product of Ui with Fi. Let us write it. This is Ui times Fi. Okay, so these are the 6 required columns in case of step deviation method. But before jumping to the last 3 columns, we need to get all the Xi. because with the help of it we will get an A, or the assumed mean, that will be used to find the values in the next 3 columns. Let us fill the first 3 columns. What is the first interval, class interval? It is 500 to 520. Let us write. The very first is 500 to 520. What is the frequency in that case? It is 12. And what is going to be the class mark? We know the class mark is 520 to be added with 500, that is upper limit plus lower limit. So their sum is going to be 1020, and 1020 divided by 2 will give us 510. Right? So we got the xi in first case as 510. Next, what is the next class interval? The next class interval is 520 to 540. What is the frequency over there? There are total 14 workers in that case. So we'll write 14. What is going to be the class mark for this? Again, the sum of 540 and 520 to be divided by 2. That will result into 530. Moving ahead, the next class interval is 540 to 560. Let us write it. 540 to 560. And what is its frequency? There are in total 8 workers in that category. So we'll write 8. And what is going to be the class mark? 560 added with 540 divided by 2. That will be around 550. Moving ahead, we have the next class interval as 560 to 580. Let us write it. 560 to 580. And what is its frequency? Its frequency is 6. And what is going to be its class mark? You know, you have to add the upper limit and lower limit and divide it by 2. So 580 added with 560 divided by 2 gives us 570. And the last class interval is 580 to 600. We will write it 580 to 600. And what is its frequency? Its frequency is 10. So we will write 10 over here. And the class mark would be the sum of these two divided by 2. That will result into 590. So I hope you are clear with these first 3 columns. We simply have found out all the xi by finding the sum of upper limit and lower limit, and then we divided it by 2 in each class interval. We also have written the frequency of these class intervals in front of it. Now if I look at it, look at all the xi. 510, 530, 550, 570, 590. So there are in total 5 xi's over here. So that means the central value is 550. So we will take this 550 as the assumed mean. So let us write here A is equal to 550. Are you clear? A is the assumed mean, which happens to be the central value in this xi, so that the difference becomes easier. So we are taking A over here as 550. Also one important thing is h. What is going to be h? Or h, we know it is class height. So class height is nothing, but you can take any of the class interval. Let us take 560 to 540. You simply subtract lower limit from the upper limit, and when you do so, you are getting 20. So what is the class height in this case? It is 20. So every class interval has class height 20. You can see they all are equally spaced. So we just got A and we just got H. Now we'll move ahead further. What is DI? DI is the difference of XI and assumed mean. So in first case, XI is 510 minus assumed mean will be 550. So 510 minus 550 will give us minus 40. So let us write it over here, minus 40. In next case, it is 530 minus 550. That will result into minus 20. So let us write minus 20 over here. Similarly, in the next case, 550 minus 550 will give us 0. Then 570 minus 570 will give us 20. And 590 minus 550 will give us 40. So we got all the DIs all the required DI or the deviations. Now we need to find UI. And what is UI? UI is nothing but DI upon class height, and in this case the class height is 20. So what is going to be minus 40 divided by 20? It is going to be minus 2. So let us write minus 2 over here. In the next case it is minus 20 divided by 20. That will result into minus 1. So we'll write minus 1 over here. Then 0 by 20 will result into 0. 20 by 20 results into 1. And 40 by 20 results into 2. So it's quite easy. We got just all the UIs. Now is the time to multiply this UI with Fi. And now you can see that the product becomes very easy. What is 12 times minus 2? It is going to be minus 24. What is 14 times minus 1? It is minus 14. What is 8 times 0? 0. What is 6 times 1? 6. What is 10 times 2? 20. So we also have UIFI with us. Now let us find some totals. Here the very first thing is summation of Fi. How many workers were being interviewed over here? There were total 50 workers. So this summation of Fi should be 50. Let us check. What is 12 plus 14? It is 26. 26 plus 8 would be 34. 34 plus 6 is 40. And 40 plus 10 is 50. So yes, we are correct. We are getting summation of Fi as 50. Now we need to find out the summation of UIFI. So summation of UIFI is equal to, let us add, it's quite easy to add, minus 24 added with minus 14, minus minus will be addition. So 24 and 14 will be 38, so it is minus 38. Minus 38 plus 0 is again minus 38. Now minus 38 plus 6 would be minus 32, and minus 32 plus 20 would be minus 12. So we get the summation of UIFI as minus 12. So we now have all the required values. Let us write the formula. What method are we using? We are talking about step deviation method. So in step deviation method, the formula for finding the mean, assumed mean, that is A, added with the summation of UIFI divided by summation of Fi, which needs to be multiplied with class height. So this is the formula for finding the mean in case of step deviation method. Let us substitute the values. So in place of A, we will write 550, as we know that we have taken the assumed mean as 550. Now this must be added with what? What is summation of UIFI? It is minus 12 upon what is summation of Fi? It is 50, and this needs to be multiplied with class height, that happens to be 20, you may see over here. So if I do this, 0 cancels 0. So what are we left with? We have the mean as 550 to be added with minus 12 times 2 would be minus 24. That still needs to be divided by 5. So if I divide minus 24 by 5, I'll get something like this. Let me just explain it to you. It is 550 already. So 24 by 5 will be 4 point, plus minus will make it minus. So it is going to be 4.8. Right? 550 minus 4.8 will be how much? Let us just quickly find it out. 550 minus 4 will be 546, and 546 minus 0.8 will be 545.2. So this is the mean of the daily wages which is being given to the 50 workers, or in other words I can say that each worker in that factory receives 545.2 rupees as their average daily wages. We can also write it like this: X bar is nothing but rupees 545.20. Okay, so this is the answer for this question. We have used the step deviation method. We found out Fi, Xi, Di, Ui and Fi Ui, and we have then found out the summation of Fi as well as the summation of Ui Fi. We use the formula A plus summation of Ui Fi upon summation of Fi multiplied with class height. When we substituted the values, we are getting the answer, or we are getting the average daily wages of 50 workers as rupees 545.20. So I hope this question is clear. You may note it down for your reference. Thank you so much.